let's do something basic. Let's set up your page. Alright, what you want to do is right here on this screen, this is your machine. I'm using a Cameo 4, so I select Auto. Now, if you have a Cameo Pro, you'd come down here and select Pro. If you got a Curio, you would select Curio, a Portrait. So, I'm going to let mine do Auto. Now, on your cutting mat, if you don't have a cutting mat, you put it on None. And then it'll look like this. And then you can adjust your media size to whatever you want it. Now, if you do have a cutting mat, you put whatever your cutting mat is. I usually use a 12 by 12, so we're just going to go with 12 by 12, and then this is my design space. Now, my media size is going to be whatever I cut. Now, if I'm using a 12 by 12 cutting mat, I can do a custom media size. I can do a 12 by 12. I can do it for a letter. Now, if I do it for a letter, you see how it adjusts my mat right there to only cover what's a letter page would cover. So that's important right there, is adjusting your media to the size that you're going to use. And then you want your orientation. Okay, you can constrain media to the mat, or you can let it hang off the mat. You can rotate it. Now this mat, because it's a 12 by 12, rotating it does nothing. But say if I came up here and I had the Curio, because I used to have a Curio has a different platform, as you can see there. And with the Curio, you want to rotate it. That way you can see how you're working on stuff. This is how it feeds in on a Curio. So you would want to work on it that way, so you would know your orientation of your page. So I'm going to go back right here to Cameo. And then on this next one, this is Show Grid, Snap to Grid, Enable Smart Snapping. These squares, each of the little bitty squares, the tiniest squares that you barely see, those are 1/4 of an inch. Then those are a 1/2 inch. And then the darkest squares you see is a 1 inch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how you count to line things up on your cutting mat, is by inches. You can change this any way you want. Now, if you're doing a print cut, you're going to come to this screen here. You're going to cut your registration marks on. Now, if you're printing on a letter size paper, you got to change your media size over here to letter or A4 or whatever you're doing, so that your registration marks will be in the right spot. Because if your registration marks are in the wrong spot, then it's not going to register. Now, if you're doing something to where you want to make sure that you have ink everywhere, you can do a print bleed and have it go over the border just a little bit. I just normally do just a regular cut. But we can do some examples of this in a later video. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. But you can turn off your registration marks, turn on your registration marks. Registration marks are for printing only. You do not need registration marks to cut vinyl or heat transfer vinyl, HTV. So there you go.